Welcome back to another episode of Unrated Podcast. We have Grant. We also have Eli here. We're going to touch on this episode this week is it's pretty exciting news just for I think Detroit fans as a whole. The last 3 or 4 days, we've learned that the Lions will be on Hard Knocks, and then we'll also be hosting the NFL Draft in Detroit in 2024. So I think we're just going to kind of touch on what that type of stuff does just for like a fan base and the city as a whole, and yeah, so I'll just go ahead and let you kind of kick it off, Eli. Obviously, any type of like event like this is gonna, benefit a city, in many, many ways. So what are your thoughts on, the draft being here and then also Hard Knocks, Lions being on Hard Knocks? What are your thoughts on both those events for Detroit overall?
Yeah, so I guess I'd start out with the more one that's coming up more recently. That would be one that's coming up quicker, and that would be Hard Knocks. That's something I know that me and you both watch pretty religiously every year.
Mm-hmm.
It's something just kind of, even whether you care about the teams or not, in the middle of the dog days of the summer when there's not a lot of sports happening, a lot of the sports that I care about, I should say, happening. I always tune in. That's just some good football to watch. A lot of behind the scenes. You always call kind of, for lack of a better term, fall in love with a couple of players you never heard of, some guys trying to make the team, or some random, fourth round pick. Uh,
Yeah,
so that's kind of what I'm looking forward to, is just what we can bring to the table as far as that goes. The behind the scenes of our uh, team, our program. Like you said before we hopped on, just what is Dan Campbell really made of? We're
mm-hmm.
gonna get what, 10 episodes, an hour long of him, for good or bad. I really think this is kind of gonna be a make or break thing for him. I hate to say that, but I know we're coming off a very bad season. He's kind of somewhat glorified for that anyway.
Yeah,
But with that being said, I think if he goes in here and he basically, what I wrote down was, this Hard Knocks will prove whether he is a genius or a clown.
yeah,
That's the exact quote I put down on my phone. So if he's a genius, he's coming in here and he's talking about drinking, 80 ounces of coffee in the morning and, biting kneecaps and all that stuff. And we go out there and, go 3-14 again, it's going to look very bad. Now, if he
yeah,
goes out there and all that motivational stuff works and we turn the team around and are into playoff hunt or sneak into the playoffs, even
yeah,
I will let up a little bit. But I think that's one of the big things I'm looking forward to, is just what is he like behind the scenes, and get a real in-depth view of all of that. So that's the biggest thing. A couple, we're 5 or 6 months out, that I'm looking forward to, is just kind of analyzing everything about him. And then obviously we don't know who we drafted yet, but would love to see some of the young guys in there working their way in,
mm-hmm.
and fighting and competing. So all in all, that's what I'm looking forward to when it comes to
That,
Hard Knocks.
yeah,
Great Hard Knocks.
yeah. Right, yeah. We have the same exact opinion, on Dan Campbell. I mean, I'm not. I think being a Lions fan so long, it kind of passed like the rah rah, side of things. He was talking about all the biting kneecaps and whatnot, and obviously we know what we kind of knew what that season was going to be, losing Stafford and kind of just rebuilding basically from the bottom. Um, so I'm kind of looking at forward to this kind of will this make me more of a Campbell fan? You know what I mean? Like, is it all just kind of for the cameras, or is it going to be like do we get to kind of see like who he really is? You know what I'm saying? I feel like I've heard that more behind the scenes, he's more of like a quiet guy and just kind of, leading by example type deal. But then he kind of gets to the podium and starts, having like little weird punchlines and different comments that he makes. So overall, I'm just looking to see like what he really is and like, you know, maybe can seeing like how he is in that type of environment. Like, would that make me more of a fan? Because right now I'm just kind of like, we'll see. But I'll say also, I'm more excited about the team itself. I mean, I'm thinking about like, seeing like guys like Hawkinson, DeAndre Swift, um,
King
Panay
Crum. Yeah.
Sewell, just like some of the like, you know, stars we have like on the team overall, just kind of seeing them in their, behind the scenes in their natural environment. They have the players at the crib, hanging out
Mm.
with the team and such, and really like kind of like digging in on like their families and just like stuff they do in the community. So, for me it'll definitely all in all Hard Knocks always hypes me up just because it's like literally like they have it to where it starts in like early August and then like the last episode is like basically like that next week is when the season actually starts. So I'm looking forward to just like in the like prior it'd be like kind of a random team, like you said, we just kind of watch because we, everybody watches Hard Knocks, but now I'm like really like looking forward to like tuning in and just seeing, more of like the behind the scenes, just because it is our hometown team. So,
Agree. A different level of engagement when it's somebody that you're familiar with,
yep,
this familiar with. We know players that made that you know have no business being on the Lions team. We have players that we love that don't get playing time. We know everything ins and outs of the Lions. So I think just when you're that involved and you've been following a team our whole life, and I believe I know this. I think this is the first time the Lions got on Hard Knocks, but this would be like the fourth time that golf is on the Hard Knocks. So it's interesting. Third time I think. So it's interesting just to see that play out. Obviously he's not a run to the cameras type of guy, but that even is going to be an interesting thing. His second year here, he's clearly on the hot seat.
right.
Most people are ready to push him out very quickly. So I mean, I don't know how many people would even bat an eye if we went and got like Malik Willis with the second pick. I think I'm not saying we should do that, but I know a lot of people probably wouldn't bat an eye if we did that, and they would push golf out in a heartbeat. So even just to see what he can come up and do with his second season here and kind of a prove it year.
Yep.
You were hurt last year, you're banged up, you made some bad plays, bad throws, you
Yeah.
cost us games, the coach cost us games. So just kind of all in all, just I'm excited to see all of that kind of come together in one
Yeah.
unit here.
Clean slate. And I think one thing too, and we'll definitely jump to the draft after this. Um, just like all last year, people making the jokes about being the Detroit Rams and everything. I don't think we was ever really on that train. Like I always thought it was just like we're rooting for Stafford.
Right.
Like I don't think for a second I was ever like, man, I'm about to like might have thought about getting a Rams jersey just because like I get the Stafford one, so I thought that'd be kind of dope. But like that's about as far as like it went for like me personally. You know what I'm saying? So I think this would be an opportunity for us to be like for people like whoever going to tune in, like any type of fan, of the NFL, be like, man, like Detroit really is like Detroit versus everybody, like real gritty, just grinders, like chip on their shoulder. We can kind of like rebrand ourselves as like this is who Detroit is going forward, and not like this is the Detroit team that held Stafford back for 12 years. So I'm also looking forward to just like them almost in a way like catching like more like popularity like around the NFL. It's like, oh man, like they really just got like a really gritty team, and it's not just the dumpster fire that's been a dumpster fire for the last 15, 20, 25 years that just kind of wasted three Hall of Famers careers. So
No, I agree with that, and just looking forward to the draft. I know we're hosting the draft in 2024.
yeah.
I obviously that's what two seasons out from now, so it's no telling where we'll be at 2 years from now. I mean, I'll be honest, we very well could have that first pick, but I think either way, the city was awarded the draft. I know I've done a little bit of research on that. It's kind of like a bidding process that's several years out, and
Mm-hmm.
so Detroit. I know you said you mentioned the cities beforehand, but Detroit, DC, and I think you said Green Bay were like the finalists. I'm picking Detroit over any of those cities, but obviously I'm biased.
Right.
But I would say, that's something that's also just more momentum for the city.
Mm-hmm.
They just dropped one of the best, newest stadiums, NBA stadiums, right in the heart of downtown.
Yeah.
There's countless brand new buildings downtown. There's countless brand new restaurants and apartments, and just a whole new life, kind of generating within the heart of Detroit. So just
Yeah.
always having things in a heart of a city and keeping people from across the world and across the country coming into a heart of a thriving city is how you keep a town alive and keep them doing well. So that's something that I know I want Detroit to be a world-renowned city again, and it starts and begins with little things like this. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I
Yeah.
can't find out how much the city paid. My fault on this, but I can't figure out how much the city paid to host the event. But from what I could tell, is there's typically about a 20 times your money return. Um, so I wrote down a couple of them, the last couple ones here. Um, Cleveland paid $5.5 million, generated just over 100 million. Philly paid. I couldn't figure out what they paid, but they generated 91 million.
Yeah.
Dallas generated 125 million, and Nashville generated 133 million. And these are all in 3-day weekends.
Yeah.
So if
And
Detroit
that's
can do anything around that, it was a win for the city.
absolutely, and I think too. I mean, it's a 3 day weekend, but how I'm looking at it, I mean, it could almost be kind of like a 7 to 10 day event. You know what I'm saying? Like you got a lot of these, NFL Network, ESPN, like all these different podcasts. Probably showing up, 3 or 4 days in advance.
Yep.
Just going to different restaurants, like hanging out at Greek Town. Just really like ingraining themselves within like downtown Detroit for a good good period of time. And yeah, I mean it's not like you said, it's not going to do anything but just be better for the city of Detroit as a whole because it'll put a lot of like them small businesses that are downtown. It's a lot of different like put have opportunity to put a lot of those businesses and those types of things like on the map, to where they'll have more of like a bigger spotlight on them because it will be like the NFL draft will be either downtown or in the general vicinity of like Detroit. Like I said, we don't know where it'll be at quite yet, but yeah, hopefully if they're able to kind of find a venue that they think will be able to seat a certain amount of people and be like a good central area, people be able to get in and out, get around. I mean, I would love for it to be, right in like the heart of like downtown Detroit. I mean, baseball would be kind of like kicking off then. NBA will kind of be, or like, the playoffs. Well, this is probably being a little too optimistic, but hopefully be a scenario where, the Pistons could be maybe, dancing around, maybe making the play in or like, being in the playoffs around that time. I might be a little off when it comes to the timeline as far as that's concerned, for the possibility of them playing. But I mean, hell, even the Red Wings, I mean, we don't follow or touch on baseball or hockey at all, on these our podcasts. But I mean, I think just to, kind of see, the excitement and just like, great time of the year. It's like spring, the weather's breaking and stuff. And I think that'll like overall like the to see an atmosphere will be solid. I think that's something we definitely need to try to look into, being a part of in some way, somehow.
So I 100% am down, like you said, try to get a press pass, go down there. Even if that's not a possibility, which I think it could be this far out,
Mm-hmm.
just being in the mix, getting down there, bumping shoulders. There's no telling who you could bump into or
Yeah,
who you may see or any of
right.
that. I mean, it's like that way now in Detroit. I go down to Detroit now and see, I've seen Drummond. I've seen the guy who wrote Tuesdays with Maury. I can't think of his name right now. Mitch Albom. I've
Yep.
seen, I mean, you go down to Detroit, you see people. Smokey
Yeah.
Robinson, I've seen him at Fishbones. I mean, so Detroit's obviously a legit town.
Yep.
Just bringing in that much money into a town is only going to help, especially a city that's looking to rebound. And so that's something that I know all of Detroit's going to come out for that. And as you said, there's enough happening in downtown where there's going to be tons of events, whether they're going to the casinos or whether the Tigers are playing that night or whether, and I'm sure that all that's going to be coordinated so that it is maximum events happening around that time,
Yeah.
so that, yeah, so that's something I'm looking forward to. I mean, there's 3 casinos that are pretty nice down there. There is, like I said, countless restaurants, countless small businesses.
Yeah.
And all of that's going to be beneficial when all the big money from across the country comes in, and
Yeah.
it's a win for Detroit. Hopefully, what we paid, just because I'm a kind of a business nerd, comes out. I would love to see that, because obviously the town is. I mean, they filed bankruptcy like 4 years ago, so probably shouldn't be costing out too much money. But you got to, scary money don't make money, so you got to put some on the table in order to, generate it back.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, I know one thing we kind of, touched on before we jumped on that, obviously this type of conversation just sparks other ideas. Maybe awesome to see, the Big Ten, move around the football conference championship and the basketball like tournament. I think right now I'm pretty sure they're both in Indianapolis, if I'm not
correct.
mistaken. Which that is kind of like just central like Midwest big town or Big Ten country, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I would love if they ever dance to the idea of having it in Detroit, like at Little Caesars Arena one year, or moving it to maybe having it like Cleveland or something like that. So I guess like what are your is there any if you could pick maybe a couple events just from like a college basketball standpoint, whatever that kind of looks like, what would you maybe want to see?
Yeah, so I definitely am. College basketball, I think, needs to be held in Detroit periodically. I think we established that Illinois and Michigan are the only 2 Big Ten states that have 2 Big Ten teams. And no disrespect to Illinois, but we're the only ones that consistently have teams competing for championships or playing in those games.
Indiana does too. I've just
Yeah,
remembered that
I
Purdue
mean,
and but they've always had it though. It's always been there.
yeah,
Like,
that's so. Yeah, no, yeah, I wasn't naming them because they're there. Yeah, yeah.
oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, but I guess I did. I guess I'll put it this way: we're very formidable, and Detroit is a larger city. A lot more happening in Detroit than Indianapolis. I've hung out. My brother-in-law lives in Indy. Not a whole lot happening there.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's a cool town, but I would pick Detroit over that any day. So I think both of those events probably should be periodically held in Detroit or just rotate it. You know, you could throw
Yeah.
it in New York for a while. You could throw it in, Pittsburgh or Philly, somewhere to help out those teams. Probably keep it out of Nebraska, but you could rotate it a little bit, just to.
Uh, yeah.
Yeah, no, so those two things, and then obviously, I mean, the Super Bowl came here. I want all of it, but the Super Bowl came in '06. The Seahawks played the Pittsburgh Steelers. I was a big Sean Alexander fan then. So that was great for the city, and that was the depths of Detroit. And I can tell you, walking around there, that the city was alive.
Yeah.
It's a big event, big world-renowned event. So I just think the city needs to continue to put those things forward. There's enough entertainment value there, and I think Detroit's one of those cities that once you actually go there, people fall in love with it.
Yeah.
People hear a lot of bad things about the town, but I don't know anybody that spent a week or weekend in Detroit and didn't have a good time.
Right.
So yeah, and that's kind of the selling point is. Yeah, it's a little rough and gritty, but that's most Midwest cities are.
Yeah. And also say too, just even throw the NBA in there. All Star Weekend's gonna be in Utah next year. I don't know. No, I'm probably like Utah's biggest hater.
Yeah.
Just like as a franchise, like I could kind of care less about them. But you can't imagine. I feel like if Utah can get the All Star game, Detroit should definitely be in line. Like
Yeah.
now, obviously All Star Weekend that does tend to kind of bounce around the country, quite a bit. I don't know if we've ever hosted it, maybe back in like the '90s or something like that. We just don't remember. But I would it would be great to be able to kind of, have, Hard Knocks 2023, NFL Draft 2024, you know, 2026, 2027. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe in the next like 3 to 4 years, be able to host the All Star game as well. Because I'm like you. I mean, been to Detroit quite a few times. Enjoyed my time every time going there. Obviously aware of the bad rap that it gets just from people that don't go there enough. So I think it would do nothing but make it more, that maybe one of like those mega cities of the Midwest. You know what I'm saying? Like a Chicago or you know what I mean? Just as far as like how big it is and what the potential that it could have to get bigger and to grow more. So
Agreed.
yeah,
And nobody wants to go to Utah. I mean, that's one of those. I mean, they were struggling to get people to go to Cleveland. And, in Utah,
yeah,
I personally think Utah's probably worse than that. It's further out there, less to probably do. It's Utah, so I
right.
think,
Yeah,
yeah,
like I
I don't know
can't.
how. And the Little Caesars Arena is I don't want to say $1 billion, but several $100 million stadium that's not even 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And that's venue's barely been used. The whole first year and a half, they couldn't even sell it out because of COVID.
Right.
So that venue has barely been touched, barely been broken in, for lack of a better term. So I think they definitely should have that there. We have enough of a hip hop rap scene to keep the entertainment there.
Yeah.
Other than I mean, like smaller underground guys that would really keep it interesting. Other than the Eminem type. You have 10 other smaller bubbling rappers that would put on great halftime shows.
Mm-hmm.
Lizzo's from Detroit. I mean, you could really put together something that, like a great entertainment package that the world or the country would enjoy, and people from all aspects of life could come here and enjoy,
Yep.
um, more than you would enjoy, Salt Lake City in the middle of
Yeah.
February. That sounds horrible.
Yeah. Absolutely. But yeah, like you said, all in all, it's gonna be it's gonna be a great environment. I'm just really looking forward to the next couple of years. As far as it's been a good little time as a Detroit fan. You know, all in all, I mean, you got Pistons are, I keep saying, the best team in the league currently. Um, Number one pick. You know what I mean? Had a potential to have another top three pick potentially on this upcoming year. And I feel like all the sports are starting to like it was really like dog days probably like 3 4 years ago.
Yeah,
Across
those
all
people.
sporting across all major sports for Detroit. So it's kind of cool to see. Like I said, I know we don't follow baseball and hockey that much, but you know,
No, I think,
Tiger
I
being
mean,
dark
I don't
horse.
follow them, and I'm gonna butcher some of the names, but I work with people who talk to me about Red Wings and Tigers all day, and I think they sound like they're in a similar ballpark as the line,
Yeah,
where they got a bunch of young players, and it's really just a matter of if we can make it click, and or keeping this core together. I know the Tigers got a couple guys with
they signed a couple
my
like
coworker
stars.
with there with some hot bats, so.
Yeah, hot bats.
But yeah, so no, I agree. I think we're a lot of the teams are kind of in that same ballpark where if they can hone in and make a couple of the right picks and a couple of the right free agent signings, you can take a below average team and make them formidable. And I know for a fact the Pistons are right there. You know,
Yeah,
yeah. So I'm beyond ecstatic about the Pistons. Everything that they have going on.
right.
Pretty happy about the Lions too. You know, obviously, every time you have a second pick in the draft and like 4 picks in the first 40 picks or whatever, I think we can make a lot happen in there too. But I would be I'll be lying if I said I wasn't extremely excited about whatever the Pistons have going on, and I
Hmm.
think we are this close away from really making noise.
Right. Yeah, agree with all that. Like I said, it's just a good time to be a Detroit fan, and for us, it's always like got to hang our hat on, kind of like the smaller things, just because on sometimes on the field or on the court, the performances ain't always been as great the last few years. But it's good to be able to hang your hat on some of those smaller things, or like those important events, not smaller things, but like very important events, but then also start to see the success on the field and on the court as well. So yeah.
No, 100%. And I don't know if you have anything else to wrap it up, but just looking at the Pistons and Cade Cunningham, I just think they are in such a great position.
Yep.
The books are clean. You have three phenomenal players under the age of 22.
Hmm.
Um, you have an upcoming top 3 pick in line. You have trade assets in Jeremy Grant that you'll be able to probably get a very good player back or probably a lottery pick back for him at
Yep.
any point in time whenever you decide to pull the trigger. We could have easily got rid of him for probably good pieces this year.
Yeah.
We're sitting around waiting and letting it cook and bake and really marinate and doing the right thing.
Hmm.
We could have ran out, and I know you were against it, but we could have ran out and got Ben Simmons, but we ran out and stole Bagley.
Yep.
We stole him. As far as I'm concerned, that was a major pickup. We look like a completely different team in post getting him, and I can begin to see the vision. So you
Yeah.
throw in another top 2 pick, not Chet Holmgren, another top 2 pick. I think we are, we're right in the mix. I'm very, very, very
Oh yeah.
excited, and Cade is great. I mean, I watch him a lot, and it's I haven't been able to see this myself, but I know you probably got to see this when you watched Kyrie Irving when you were in Ohio freshman year of
Yeah.
college, where he just stands out. You're like, this kid is special. Regardless of what the record is, regardless of anything, you can look at that and say, this kid is going to be in the league for 10, 15 years and doing this every night.
Yeah. So
um,
I'm not even too far off my potential prediction. If the draft can be in Detroit 2024, I mean, there's a very possible chance
yeah.
that Detroit could be in the middle of a playoff run.
I mean, that's like
Same,
15 more games. You can
yeah,
tell me we can't put together 15 more games in 2 years? I mean, I think we probably purposely lost 10 more games this year.
yeah,
Right.
it's possible.
I mean, I think we're at 20. I mean, the record is ass, but I think we're at like 20 wins and in mid lower 30s are getting you in the playoff hunt. So,
Yeah, but hovering around 500 after the All Star weekend, so we're already kind of trending that way. So yeah, the expectation would be maybe like a second round matchup with somebody come
yeah.
2024
I mean,
potentially.
I mean, obviously that's assuming Cade is going to keep that same projections and assuming Bay is going to keep,
Yeah,
upgrading a little bit as well, Bagley, and then we're going to throw in a good player. But I can't imagine, even if we kind of blow this pick, knock on wood, with what we have, you would think that we could be hovering around, 40, 42 wins in a couple of years.
right.
To me, Cade looks like a guy who can drag a team into 35 wins once he actually gets acclimated in the league. I mean, he's a kid still; he's like 19.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a lot on a guy. And even he has. I don't know if you watched the game last night, but he shouldn't even have played. He was
Hmm.
injured, and he's trying to play to win Rookie of the Year. He had 5 points at halftime. It was a rough first half. Yeah, and then I'll be honest. My wife wanted to watch some little random reality show, so I turned it off when he had 17 points, and then looked up and he dropped another 12
Yeah.
after I turned it off. Or sorry, another. He had 17. I turned it off. He dropped another 17 points after I turned it off. So it's
Yeah.
just very impressive that a young player can do that versus a K. Obviously, they don't play defense, but versus a KD Kyrie Irving and all stars, Hall of Fame type players. So
Hmm.
yeah, I'm ecstatic. I think we're sitting pretty.
Yeah, yeah. Future's bright. Like I said, we got a couple, solid events to pepper in there, and um, ain't
Yeah,
nothing much to go from up from. It's nothing but up from here.
agreed,
So,
agreed. I know we got to cut it. We got to cut it short, but I'm gonna just so we can have it on record here. I think we shut down Jeremy Grant because that deal was that we're gonna trade him in the draft.
yep,
We shut down
definitely
Jeremy Grant,
expecting
and I think
top five.
that Pelicans lottery, that's probably what's happening. There's no reason. I mean, you could shut him down because he obviously would help us win games, but I think they're saying, okay, let's keep him 100% healthy. This is what we're doing on draft day or around draft day,
Yep,
and they're moving forward. And
yep,
I just making decisive decisions, and moving in the right direction. That's how I know that we're in good hands.
right. Oh yeah, and then yeah, finish up with this. I knew he was gone as soon as they got Bagley,
Yeah.
so
Yep.
it
Yep.
was only a matter of time. That just kind of solidified it. So yeah, off to a
100%.
good start. We'll see what happens.
Yes, sir. Anything else for the people?
That's all, man. Go Detroit sports.
Peace.